Hey, Nat from Catapult. Let's jump straight in. So the reason why I did this topic, the number one thing stopping women in business, is because I knew you'd click through. I knew you'd click through to see, what is it? Is there another magic solution? And that's kind of why I put it there, because that's one of the reasons what is stopping you is you keep thinking that there's another way through the wall of shit not happening. But the truth is you already know what to do. You've already downloaded all the stuff. It's a matter of you getting out there and doing it. But what is actually stopping you, and this is stemmed from an article that's around Facebook at the moment about the real reason that people divorce in their marriages. And when I read it, I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what my clients are experiencing and exactly what we've all been talking about this week. Is unmet expectations of yourself and your performance in your business. So you know what I mean, right? You set this freaking hairy goal, because a lot of experts out there are saying set these huge goals. So, you 10 times your actions. Grant Cardone talks about 10 timing your actions so you get 10 times your results. And I'm a huge action taker, right? I don't call it catapult your business because I freaking, snail about. So I'm all for taking massive action. And so the reason I know about unmet expectations and how it can really devastate your business is a lot of American coaches say set the level freaking high, man. So go high, set really crazy big goals. And while I think there's a place for that and a space for that, when you're earning fucking zero in your business, and someone says to you, set your monthly goal to 10 grand, you automatically set a really unrealistic expectation, right? Because when you sit there and look at the goal, $10,000, and you're experiencing zero, it doesn't matter that you could be the most positive person. The actual subconscious feeling you're going to get is, I don't believe I can do it. You then go and set goals based on this really unrealistic, and this is completely my opinion, right? Because I've experienced and my clients have experienced it. So you go and set a yearly plan, monthly goals based on this 10 grand month, which you don't believe inside here. So you spend most of your time beating yourself up because you want your first program to be Marie Forleo where she's at now. So all you see is where you freaking aren't. And what brings with that is the annoyance at yourself. I can't do it. Like you feel it. Like I can feel what it used to feel like, that you're not good enough to get to those expectations. And so what it does is it causes crazy procrastination. It actually pulls the perfection beast right out of the frickin' closet, and all of a sudden you start putting blocks in front of why you can't get there. And so for me, the number one thing isn't the procrastination or the overwhelm. It's because you've set a too high expectation of what you can actually achieve in business. So, if you want to create something or be at a certain, have a certain goal, but you don't create the time for it, and then you beat yourself up for not meeting it, that's ridiculous. That's crazy behavior, but we all do it. And so that's why you've got to look at the expectation matches, do you have the time, the energy to go put it out. So I've been working on my Catapult signature program. I completely underestimated how long it was going to take me, who is a massive action taker. But because I understand the whole unmet expectations, I know now not to beat myself up, not to put a block in front of it with something else to cause procrastination, to cause perfection. I know that I've set the bar too high even for myself, and it's not about being pig-headed and being too proud to lower the expectation, but that's what I did. And as soon as I just got off my own back, it actually catapulted. See what I did there? It actually catapulted me to take better action, to make wiser decisions, to actually get what I needed done at that time. So that's why I wanted to jump on here and say, you know what? It isn't procrastination. It isn't the scrolling. It's the fact that you've gone and set the bar too high for yourself. And inside you don't believe you can do it. And so you're looking at all the ways that it's not working and just putting blocks up. So perfection rears its ugly head when you want something that looks amazing, as Marie Forleo does, right? And Denise Duffield. Like, this stuff at the moment is freaking hot. Let's face it. However, when you're first starting out, you can't expect from yourself to have 0 versions of anything and your first version to be that. Because you know what? Their shit's so good because they've gone through the journey of having to birth that, of having to be in the freaking mix of the beast of all that business is, right? So kind of how dare you think you can go from here to there and then beat yourself up that you're not getting there, because you have to go through all of these journeys, all of these stages to work out how you best work. So another way that perfection can rear its head is because you want this freaking shiny thing right now, you get overwhelmed by the intensity of the work that's involved, instead of just shifting down to, you know what the hell does version 1 look like? Let's strip it back from what you want it to look like and go straight back to the ideal client and go, how can you help the people in front of you right now? It doesn't matter if it's delivered in this pretty package. It can just be delivered in an email with an audio link that you've recorded, a video that you've chucked up in a private YouTube. Just get the information to your ideal client to solve the problem so you can actually learn how you love to deliver. So can you see that if you just got to start to pull it in to make it achievable, so you can take the imperfect action, okay? That's why I did that painting, so I could do that. Because otherwise, there's no other way through it. You can't just, I suppose it's like wanting a baby, but not being prepared to be pregnant. You just want the stork to deliver it, right? You've got to go through the process. You've got to go through that journey, because by the time you come out to version 3, you're actually going to be the relevant expert for different people through the stages. So, I love the subject, and I know it's a little bit controversial because of all the, other kind of, people saying that you do have to, set high goals. And I'm not saying don't, but if you look at your goals, if you look at your quarters and you look at your monthly to-do list and you're overwhelmed and you don't believe it, then that is what's stopping you, nothing else, right? The only difference between me and you is that I just fucking do it. I just find the imperfect way through. I know that, Catapult, the signature program's not ready yet, but I've made hybrid paths to get there so that I'm selling versions of it until I get out the other side. You've just got to find what you can do now. So the other thing around this, though, is I work with amazing women who have personal brands, and most of us are high achievers and creatives, okay? Usually being managers and lead other people. But when we come into business, instead of embracing our kind of crazy ways, so let me explain some examples of that, is maybe you work best to deadlines, that you actually don't do much work until the 9th hour. And what you roll out is freaking amazing. But because you see online about effective people, you've got to get up at 5 and you've got to do green smoothies and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yep, I could do that one day a week. The rest of the week, we fall back into our programming, right? The easiest way through that is to embrace that part of you. Embrace that deadline part of you. And instead of trying to change who you are around that, set up the deadlines. So sell your freaking program first before you've built it, which means you have to deliver, right? So of course you don't sell something if you don't exactly know what's going to go in it, right? So take that into context. But that's a way through being that kind of deadline, got to be perfect, it's not good enough, is actually go and put it out there, and then you have to follow through, right? Because then you don't want to be that person who doesn't follow through. So another version of that is often we're such nurturers that we might be studying and being coached ourselves and learning, and instead of embracing all that information for ourselves, we're sitting there in a seminar or a workshop going, oh, this would be really good for my clients. So we think we're working on our business, but what's actually happening is we're giving the power back to our clients or our product and our service, and not really taking the time to be selfish and actually work on our own businesses. So just be aware of that too. If you're a nurturer and a giver, that even if you're doing personal development, you'll be like, oh, this will help my client. Where actually, you've got to do that for yourself first. Another example of not embracing who you are and how you work is, one of my clients, she just loves getting her whiteboards out at night and just going crazy with brainstorming and having crazy pieces of paper. But then what happens is she has these crazy pieces of paper, it could be similar to me, and then she's like, now what? She gets overwhelmed with, she doesn't have then the time to go and do something with that. So she's been trying to change herself. And it's like, what if you could give that to your VA or your PA and you take a picture and they type it up for you. It then goes into a PDF and it sits in your drafts in your Gmail. That's the start of your resource library for your membership site for your staff. It's like, find a way through. Don't keep beating yourself up. And every time you get to that hurdle, you go, oh, it's because I'm this. What if you just embraced how you were and then recognized the blocks as they came up and then just started to shift them over? Because we all share the same issues, time, right? But there are people out there who are just doing it, and that is the fact, right? Is they're just taking the imperfect action and understanding that it's about, giving the solution to the people who need it and not getting caught up with, the unmet expectation of where they're at. Just a little rant today. Pretty excited when I saw that article because it was actually something I wanted to talk about today anyway, that is the number one thing, is unmet expectation. Your goals are too freaking big, babe. And I know that's counterintuitive to what we hear, but do you know what? As soon as I was earning 0 and someone said to me, oh, you got to set 10 grand as a goal, Nat, I was like, stuff you. And I made it 3 grand. And do you know what? I believed that. I believed that I could do that, and then from there, I was able to shift up and stretch the goal. So I'm all for stretch goals, right? Goals that stretch you, because then if you have a goal and you just miss it, if you had played too small, you wouldn't have got anywhere near that. So don't make comfortable goals. They've got to be stretch goals. But don't make anything too unrealistic, that the people who are doing well in your eyes, aspire to them. Don't try and match them where they're at. When you look at something like this to down here, you can't match it. And that is actually what's stopping you. High five to you, babes and biz, because this is such a roller coaster, right? It's an incredible journey. And for anyone who thought that they left their job to earn more and have more time, how's it going? Because, I think that that's an unmet expectation too. You have to deal with lots of guilt and all sorts of crap that comes up. So, if you'd love to have a session with me, a strategy session to see how I can help you, I've got a winter boot camp coming up where we get to spend 6 weeks together in a really small group, and we get the chance to help you find your imperfect path, the way through to get your shit done, put a deadline on a project that you have to get done, show up every 6 weeks and really find your flow, embrace who you are, to actually, so that you can create a lot of amazing stuff, and just set some really cool goals. So if you're interested, I'll chuck the link below, but otherwise I'd love to hear your thoughts on what how I think and what I believe is the number one thing stopping women in biz. Have an awesome day. It's Friday, and if you're in Auckland, the sun is shining, so hey, it's met the expectations. See you later, guys.